our wonderful speaker this morning. Welcome Dr. L. Carol Scott, who is entering her final year of education to become a licensed religious science practitioner in the Centers for Spiritual Living. A trauma-informed developmental psychologist, keynote speaker, 2018 TEDx speaker, and #1 international best-selling author. Carol has presented in Centers for Spiritual Living communities, Unitarian Universalist fellowships, and Unity congregations across the country. Her title this morning is The Wisdom of Childhood for Our Spiritual Hearts. Welcome, Dr. Carol.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. My goodness, the room has grown a lot since I sat down and turned my back to it. I told my friend Mary Jo, who brought me here this morning, that I had to make a joke about being an RV nomad and what it really means. And what it really means is that I may be the only woman in America who can get Chinko's wrinkle-free pants to wrinkle. No judgment, please. So, if you could know everything you needed for happier, healthier, more fulfilling relationships that bring you more joy, less struggle, how much would that be worth to you? Would you invest a day to learn it? How about a month? A year? You know, more than 40 years ago, Robert Fulghum wrote the book, All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten.
Yeah.
And with great respect to this incredibly successful book and its fine author, Mr. Fulghum only got it 14% correct. That 1 year of kindergarten gave him exactly 1/7 of what he needed to know. You may be surprised to learn that we begin gathering the wisdom of childhood on the day we're born, and that we continue for 7 years, finishing in kindergarten or first grade-ish. That's true. Theories and research on child development provide evidence that during the first 7 years of life, we can gain all the assets we need for a lifetime of happy, fulfilling relationships. Now, I know the purpose of this talk is inspiration, motivation, and affirmation, and not a lecture on child development. So here's your connection to inspiration. How much closer to God would you live if you really, truly, nearly always saw the spark of divinity within every person? If you fully lived the unity of the first two principles, God is and I am, wouldn't that mean that all your relationships with family, friends, and even coworkers were full of trust, healthy interdependence, mutual respect, joyful play, and satisfaction, and all graced by acceptance?
Yes.
Can you imagine that, though, for a moment? What would your life of faith be like if all your human relationships sparkled with trust, healthy interdependence, joyful play, mutual respect, and satisfaction? Can you imagine all your important relationships graced by acceptance of the truth of who we are? You could not help but live in the certainty that God is absolute good and absolutely everywhere present, right? So when you struggle with these spiritual principles, it's because your ego is telling you lies about yourself and your loved ones. And sadly, most of those lies were born during that window of your first 7 years. Now, when we were born, each of us was beautifully and perfectly programmed to learn how to trust people and get along with them. And then life messed with your programming. In my first book, Just Be Your SELF, Your Guide to Improving Any Relationship, I described 7 childhood treasures that you were meant to mine in your early years to become a self-governed, ego-aware person who is leading in your life and free from self-imposed barriers. A self, S-E-L-F, self-governed, ego-aware, leading and free. Now in 2021, I renamed those interpersonal treasures as your SAS, your self-aware success strategies. And I never regretted that until I had oral surgery and had to wear this little temporary plate that makes me lisp. Self-aware success strategy sounded like a good idea at the time. So these sassy opportunities, one of your significant jobs, you're born with the opportunities, and one of your significant jobs for the first 7 years was to develop and employ them in your daily life with other people. The success strategies are 7 assets you need to live well with other people, to live knowing those first 2 unity principles in your heart and always acting from the heartfelt knowledge, living the 5th principle, the truth that you and all the rest of us are inherently good. These self-aware success strategies give us every relationship tool we need to create a world that recognizes our connection to each other and to the one power and presence, to our source. These interpersonal intelligences enable us to create a world in which we live our spiritual truth in action. And without them, I don't see us succeeding in that very noble quest. Okay, so here's the problem. Most of us enter middle childhood at around 8 years without these 7 crucial assets. We don't claim them during those first 7 years. Few of us are offered what the needed development do-overs to gain those capacities in our teens or our young adult years, so here we are, all grown up and still not able to trust each other, to be truly independent rather than codependent, to relax and express the divine spark within us to get along in life's adult sandboxes, to accept one another as we are, and to encourage our connection through prayer. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I believe in miracles. And I believe in self-directed healing in partnership with divine energy as the greatest miracle of all. And I passionately believe in the success of what I call development do-overs. Whenever you decide to start healing the past of those first 7 years. Because you see, the raw material for each of these emotional and social assets is still there. It's waiting for your attention whenever you're ready. The mining tools that you have to find it are now much more abundant than when you were born, no matter when you were born. Exponentially more abundant. Any one of you can have a stronger connection to the God in you and others, and more fulfillment in your life. Just simply begin for the first time, or expand how fully you express your highest, best self through relationships. Because isn't it true that we express our spiritual principles in action mainly through relationships with other people? In my belief system, I would say that if I, as a little human slice of God, express myself in the wilderness where nobody else can see and hear, I'm still God expressing. Still part of Spirit's expression as the whole world, including, billions of other humans. But I also believe in an interdependent web of life, a unity of all God is, and that it learns through us. That power and presence learns through us. And if I am among God's many hands and feet in this world, I am some of its billion of eyes and ears, then only, what I know is only in relationships can I do the kind of evolutionary, transformative learning to evolve that spark of the divine within me. Solitude and contemplating my navel, individual therapy, journaling, solitary prayer, They were all great, and they only got me so far. And then for real spiritual growth, I needed, and you need, people. The wisdom of childhood is the solution for those of us who are deeply spiritual when we're all alone, but still struggle to see the inherent godness in everyone we know. That's me. But gosh, I mean, can you imagine that world with me for just a moment? See with me a world that respects the innate spark of divinity in every child and elder, in every homeless man and hooker, every prisoner and police officer, every immigrant and indigenous one, every race and religion, every friend and every foe. See with me a world of peace, liberty, and justice for all these, for each and every one of us, regardless of appearance or status or skill level. See with me a world that sees the divine in every person. You know, oddly, that reminded me of a joke I heard about a kindergarten teacher who gave her class a show and tell assignment to bring something to represent their religion. And so the first child stood and said, "My name is Joshua, I'm Jewish, and this is a Star of David." The next child stood and said, "I'm Mary, and I'm Catholic. This is a crucifix." The third child, who attended a Unity church, said, "I'm Willow, and I'm more spiritual than religious." And pointing at herself, she added, "And this is the light and life of God in expression." That is the essence of the wisdom of childhood that I want to bring to you today. Knowing that there is in each of us this powerful and unique value, a divine value. And what childhood's wisdom also knows, which many of us seem to have forgotten as adults, is that it is up to each of us to bring that value forward powerfully. Your job is to bring your divine spark to us and to receive the gifts that we bring to you. Now, here's an amazing truth. The wisdom of childhood, these 7 sassy assets, is all designed to form us into beings who live in relationships that value the divine in each person. We're programmed to do it. And that's really important. I'm going to say it again, because it's really important that you hear this. Relationships are not just supposed to be about getting along. They should be about really seeing each other, lifting each other. So, how does this magical, innate programming work? You may be wondering, or maybe why didn't it work so well in me? Well, of course, my book gives you the full story, and you can come to the workshop this afternoon for more details. In 25 minutes, I can only say so much, but here's the gist of it. How many of you have heard of the term individuation? Couple? It's a fancy $50 word from developmental psychology, but its meaning is very straightforward. You grow from a fertilized seed inside a woman's body to a breathing, upright, walking, talking, thinking, dreaming social being who functions independently in an extremely complex world. You transition from being a part of someone else to being an individual. You do this through individuation. You individuate. It's a human thing. As souls, we're united as divinity, but as humans, sorry to break it to you, we're individuals, right? Sort of good news, bad news. And by the way, that individuation explains why parenting is so hard. Parents are the ones being individuated from. That's not grammatical, I know, Mom. The kids are playing hot potato with their parents' hearts and souls. They deflect their parents' identities like that toasted spud. Nope, that's not me. Starting even in infancy, over and over their behavior says, nope, that's you, that's not me. Now remember all those times that you asserted your identity as a child and youth made you feel strong and proud, right? Yeah. Being the hands that deflect the spud, so much more enjoyable than being the potato. Pity the poor potatoes, I mean parents among us, because they have been peeled and mashed by their children's individuation. Or, perhaps, and we hope not, they have mashed individuation right out of their children. That's where nature's plan for the claiming of our self-aware success strategies, our sassy life, goes awry. In the delicate, interactive dance that is children's individuation, their parents often don't have a clue about the fact that they're dancing, and so they're really clueless about which of the steps won't crush their baby's toes. So, if your clueless parents were like a lot of clueless parents, just because there's no book on how to be, well, there's like 4 million books and they all tell you different stuff actually, then you may lack a healthy capacity for trusting other people. Your closest relationships may have suffered from that lack or been lost to your distrust. Because you know what? You can't know the inherent goodness of someone for whom you feel no trust. Clueless parents smash our independence too, our autonomy, and we wind up codependent or overly dependent. Parents and teachers in their unaware dances with preschoolers step on their dreams so they never find an abiding sense of faith. They break their children's efforts and negotiation so they never learn a healthy strategy to get what they want and let others do the same. We can't know the whole glorious creation of God if we can't find our place in it. So there they are, by the way, the first 4 of the self-aware success strategies: trust, independence, faith, and negotiation. These relationship assets are all programmed for your acquisition by 4 years of age. 4. Most of you don't remember 4. So given that your ability to trust others was established by, 6 months, do you think maybe it might be time to take a look at a potential do-over on the development of your trust? On all of your early development? Now these first 4 treasures, these first 4 strategies, are the basic structure that your personality lives in as an adult. It's like a safe home for spirit spark. Think of trust and independence as the 2 sides of the foundation. My fingertips on my elbow, trust and independence. And from those 2 points on the foundation rise 2 walls to faith and negotiation. So it makes like the little square. You know that little red house you used to draw when you were a little kid? It was a square with a triangle on top, right? Well, there they are. The 7 self-aware success strategies are that home. So we have trust, independence, faith, and negotiation, right? And now, the final 3 treasures form the roof to keep out life's storms. Vision, compromise, and acceptance. At 5, 6, and 7 years of age, we're meant to lock in our capacities to set and achieve goals with others' help, to release our desire for 100% self-satisfaction in service to a larger community, and to live with reality as it is. Vision, compromise, and acceptance form the triangular roof on your safe home, creating a whole personality of a human form for your God self, for your soul. You see, I believe we can't even begin to open our hearts to respect for our own divine value if we cannot trust others to meet our needs. That's what trust really is about. Can you admit that you have emotional needs and name them? We'll do that in the workshop. That's the gift of the SAS of trust, your birthright from 6 months of age. Can you be needy? Can you need people and think that you're okay? Can you depend on someone else? Surrendering control? Was that a gasp? And what about independence? Do you know who you are, what you want, and how you feel? Or are you more codependent, planning your behavior strategically to influence other people's feelings and actions? Now that sounds kind of odd. Huh? Who would do that? Well, here's a perhaps familiar example for you. Have you ever heard yourself say some version of, oh, I couldn't tell her that, she'd get mad? Or, oh, I didn't want him to get upset. So how many times a day do you create a workaround to keep someone else from having feeling? That's the very essence of codependence, and completely unnecessary with the sass of independence, your birthright from 2 years of age. Now, for the science nerds among us, and I'm going to guess that that's many of you, and bless you for being here. Science nerds? Yeah? Okay, good. The original process for claiming your sass is a series of opportunities pre-programmed, if you will, into our developmental milestones. You've heard of developmental milestones. Even if you're not a parent, you're familiar with, they stand up by this many months, they walk by this many months, they talk by this many years, right? That's what we expect when development's going normally. So we mature physically. That's part of how we grow up, right? The body grows. The body gets more coordinated. Over time, all our muscles work better, including the ones on our face that control our ability to talk, which is why kids don't talk until they're 2, because they have muscle development to do. And pinching up little items, like small things, buttons, put them up your nose. And all those other big muscles that hold torsos upright over a moving pelvis and legs. And then, in addition to maturation, we learn stuff through the repetition of patterns that others use to teach us. This is a pen. Say pen. Good, that's right, it's a pen. Teaching and learning. We learn the names of things, the expected behavior in various landscapes, and, if all goes well, how to self-regulate our emotional reactions. Maturation, teaching and learning. Everybody familiar with that's how development goes, right? But there's a secret third ingredient. Both of those happen together and reinforce each other, and there's a third strand of development that is very little known in the world that makes the other two a strong braid. And that is the one in which we construct our own understanding of the world. Maturation, teaching and learning, and construction is how we develop. Construction, as a developmental process, operates in both the social and the physical worlds, and it's highly visible in interpersonal relationship work that young children do every day, every minute of every day. But it's also visible in science and math. I have watched young children construct an understanding of physics principles while building with blocks, and I have seen them invent how to correctly solve 2-digit addition and subtraction problems without anybody teaching them how to borrow or carry. Watching children invent math is like the coolest thing in the world. But anyway, that's also the key to the sassy strategies with people that we develop in our early years. They lie in that social and emotional realm. And constructivism, is the crucial developmental process for creating the personality that you have now. Your maturation opens windows of opportunity, prime times to claim a self-aware success strategy. The environment provides us with tools by teaching and learning, and we use those tools to construct unique realities. Unique realities about who we are as people, how to behave toward other people, how to treat other people, how to get what we want, and the level of our value in the world. And so this is the wisdom of childhood that's still available to us as adults today. And here we are, back at your inspiration, motivation, and affirmation. Child development lecture for the science geeks over. It is never too late to reconstruct your understanding of how relationships go. Development do-overs today are easier than the original developmental processes. You have a more sophisticated mind for understanding the tools that you're using. With the benefit of hindsight on your life, you get to take advantage of a whole lot of maturity you didn't have at 3. Not only that, but most of you hold a comprehensive digital knowledge database in the palm of your hand, which can be activated with a verbal command. Siri, find Unity Church near me. So if you want to be closer to knowing and living the truth of God is, I am, then I recommend happier, more satisfying relationships as a pathway. If you want to live always seeing the divinity in everyone you meet, then this construction job of examining your personality inside these sassy social assets as a framework, that's your work. You can reclaim trust, independence, faith, negotiation, vision, compromise, and acceptance. You can rebuild that little safe house for spirit with sturdier versions of these assets anchoring each of those junctions from the foundation all the way to the roof peak. Are you ready to release any relationship struggle and embrace more of your potential? Well, then come to the workshop. We're going to focus on the first two success strategies of trust and independence versus codependence, which so many of us are so good at. And the book will also take you farther. More importantly, though, you'll need the willingness to get out your emotional pickaxe and start swinging. By itself, without your effort, the book and the workshop are both just a collection of words and pictures. Will it matter if you dig in and develop your sass through greater self-awareness? Well, one proof point is right here. The evidence of the authenticity of this work is standing right here in front of you. I grew up with an alcoholic, sociopathic pedophile as my father. Physical, emotional, and sexual abuse defined my first 7 years and created a lot of pain for a couple of decades after that. And I have done this sass reclaiming work myself, along with therapy and other healing modalities, to make myself as whole as I am. And it's not bad. Frankly, I actually still do the work today, every day. I'm right there next to the people that I coach and teach, saying yes to development do-overs for myself. You can believe that. It seems to never end. I'm going to be 70 at the end of January, and I'm like, do I ever get to be, done with healing? But because of that, I can testify that this work is worth it. My development do-overs were, and really sometimes are, still pretty massive. And I've been working for decades on rebuilding my personality and its safe home. And I wouldn't give back a single minute of that time. My recovery, my miracle of co-created personal transformation in partnership with the divine continues. Every day, my relationship with God, experienced through relationships with people, brings me more joy than I would have ever thought possible. So I wish for you a really sassy life. I wish for you all the self-aware success strategies, more joy in your partnership with the divine, with the one power and presence, and with your fellow humans. Namaste. So take another moment now to just find your center, to find the place of peace within you, to find that spark of divinity that is you and everything. You are the drop of water, and you are the whole ocean. And simply allow yourself to rest in that knowledge. And as you rest, little drop of ocean, open your mind and your heart to think of and feel all of the significant, important relationships in your life. maybe with a spouse, with children, with a parent, with siblings, neighbors, friends. And open the door to that little safe home for your spirit. Open it an invitation. No matter the shape it's in. If it feels strong and sturdy and protective, great. If it feels like a falling down shanty leaning up against a barn, great. Know that it is a welcome place, a relationship. Know that it is a place for the heart of you to expand and to recognize itself as already whole. Already whole. Connecting to others who are already whole, despite what our little human minds make up as lies. Rest gently knowing that we are all divine presence. And as you bring that spark of divinity self, that wholeness in you, back from your center and back into this room, I invite you to just look around at the relationships around you. Look at the people. Feel their presence as divine. Allow yourself to authentically connect spirit to spirit to spirit. And so it is.